What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wolfcrier here, and can Diablo 4 be both approachable and complex enough to satisfy different types of players? Is there some type of in-between, and can Blizzard find it with Diablo 4? Now, that very question has been one of the things that's been on my mind quite a bit for the last few days now, mainly because I'm not that guy who thinks Diablo 4 should straight up copy Diablo 2, nor should it copy Diablo 3. It needs to have its own legs and stand on its own within the action role-playing genre. I want the team working on this game to let their own passion shine through. That doesn't mean that I don't think it can incorporate aspects of each of the franchise's previous games. Diablo 2, for instance, was a great game with interesting and intricate systems when it comes to itemization, while Diablo 3 brought a fluidity to the gameplay, but ultimately removed a lot of the choice from players through its own skill and item systems. And Diablo 4 has a chance to bring back some of that complexity and real decision-making to the franchise and should not be afraid to turn things up a notch. There's nothing wrong with creating player choices in regard to making sure you hit certain points within your build in order to be able to complete certain content. Certain requirements should need to be met in order to be able to deal with certain portions of the game, especially when it comes to the endgame systems of any ARPG out there. Players should be able to realize and accept that you need certain amounts of life, resists, damage output, whatever, in order to be able to progress further within the game. I don't think it needs to be turned into some sort of spreadsheet simulator in order to accomplish this, and it should still be able to give players a need to sacrifice at times and allow for decisions that further your character's progression. I think item choices should really be more than just picking which legendaries to use, while still allowing you to make that amazing build that gets you really excited to play Diablo 4. There should be other aspects to builds within items that need to be considered, though. Finding a way to both survive and deal enough damage to progress should be a process. But is there a way to make it an intuitive process for newer or more casual players without more experienced players feeling as though everything is set on easy mode? I think that Blizzard is going to have to put a lot of effort into bringing the Diablo 4 systems together in a way that accomplishes this. But itemization is only one area where those player choices can come into play. Skill design is another aspect of player choice that Diablo 3 sort of struggled with. But a lot of that can actually be explained later in this video when we get to talking about content and endgame systems, because I think a lot of Diablo 3's struggles actually lied within those systems rather than just a failure in balancing abilities. But skill choices should matter in Diablo 4. Your build is something you want to be able to decide personally, whether that's because you have this crazy idea or you saw some cool YouTube video showcasing a build that you want to try out. It ultimately should be your decision. And that decision in itself shouldn't be something that punishes you. There needs to be options for all of those different skill layouts that allows for player progression and still offers the need to actively find solutions to any issues that arise within your build. Now, this can come from itemization within the game, or it can come with a system that allows for more robust builds. I think in this day and age, we should be able to rise above the need for those one-skill builds. For instance, both Diablo 3 and games like Path of Exile, and to some extent, Diablo 2, and even some of the new action role-playing games out there, have this system where it's more advantageous to throw everything you have into one specific skill and run with it. I'd personally like to see Diablo 4 find a way to break that mold, to make build choices more meaningful and offer varying ways to play different builds rather than needing one main damage skill, 4 buff skills, and a movement ability. and actually make the experience of playing your build more than just holding down one button. And decision making should be part of the gameplay itself, not just within that itemization process. Certain encounters within Diablo 4 should require more thought, more decisiveness within your actions. You can have the same set of skills on your bar, but now you need to figure out how best to use them for each situation that arises. And those skills need to be meaningful across the board. Each skill in the game should have some sort of usefulness to it. I love Diablo 3, as I tell you guys all the time, and I play it every single season. But there are tons of skills within the game that have no place within any build out there. And that should not be the case with Diablo 4. If a skill exists in the game, it should have a place within that game. Otherwise, should it even exist at all? The skill system, including talent trees within Diablo 4, are going to be just as important as itemization. And those two systems must go hand in hand and supplement each other and allow players meaningful choices while ensuring that those choices exist in a way that actually progresses your build and your character's ability to complete additional content without, for lack of better words, dumbing down the content itself. Which actually makes this the best time in this video to start talking about content and endgame systems in Diablo 4. And we're going to start this off by digging into one of the major problems that plagues Diablo 3 when it comes to balancing abilities. And it actually has nothing to do with number crunching itself and more to do with the content within the game. Diablo 3 went through a few different iterations of endgame throughout its lifetime. Two that stand out the most are Inferno difficulty from vanilla Diablo 3, in which content became excruciatingly hard for many players and required both player skill and proper itemization to overcome this game difficulty. And the benchmark was pretty high. And now we have the current endgame system of this almost infinite upwards trajectory of greater rifts until the last few seasons where 4-man teams were finally able to break into that greater rift 150, the top content in Diablo 3. And it's within these two systems that the problems with balancing every skill and class in Diablo 3 really started to come into play. I get a lot of comments on some of my videos that games like Path of Exile, another game that I quite enjoy, offer countless builds that are balanced within the game. But multiple builds being able to complete all of the content in PoE is not a testament to balance. It's merely evidence of a decent endgame system. Diablo 3's balance issues actually stem from the fact that not every set of skills can take a group or a single player to that GR 150. The only true way to balance Diablo 3 would be to give every single skill in the game the ability to accomplish that feat. As a matter of example, in Path of Exile, I can take an underused skill, such as lightning tendrils, for instance, and take it to beat Shaper, one of the endgame bosses in Path of Exile. Now, is it balanced to where it can compete with the Cyclone skill? No way. But I can build around it, and with proper itemization choices and supporting skills or gems, I can make it work. I can make it viable. In Diablo 3, you cannot take an Exploding Palm Monk into a 4-man GR 150 and make it work. The Endless Paragon system and the Endless GR system in Diablo 3 was detrimental to balance within Diablo 3. And I'm really hoping that Diablo 4 learns from this because, as I've said, I do enjoy Diablo 3, but I just want more choices in the game, especially if that means that I really have to dig into it and figure out how to achieve the build that I want to make. Endgame systems in Diablo 4 have to bring so many things together. They have to allow for build diversity by not being this infinite system, but they have to also offer many ways to enjoy it and make it something that people want to replay over and over and over. I want some type of competitive way to play the game myself personally, but I also want that loot grind. I want the ability to enjoy different systems based on my mood and my desires for my character's progression. I don't need any of this handed to me, and I want to be able to work for it. But that work should have results in character progression beyond +5 main stat. So far, I like what they've already brought up with the dungeon endgame system, but I want more things to do and varied ways to enjoy this game. And there are several games out there that showcase an ability to make this actually happen. You can make a game with several endgame systems that each have their own appeal or draw, while still making this a very good Diablo game. And I think a good amount of thought can be put into all of these systems that will actually create a more robust experience in the game while still allowing for meaningful build customization that doesn't stifle player choice and can allow high-end players to really dig in and excel, but not cut off those newer, less experienced players from enjoying the game. But to accomplish this, all of these systems need to work together in order to create a game that is challenging but not impossible without whipping out Excel every time a new season starts. I think it's possible to add complexity to the game that doesn't alienate less experienced players, but it's all in how these systems are implemented, and it's all in how well they mesh together. Hopefully the Diablo 4 team can take a look at all of this, see how it all works together, create a system that doesn't actually dumb down the content, but still makes it accessible to those newer players. But you should have the ability to progress further if you are a more experienced player. All of this needs to come together, but it seems like it might be a big task for Blizzard, and hopefully this team, with all the passion that they do seem to have, is up to this task. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I always greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know down in that comment section down below your thoughts on anything that I covered in this video, any ideas that you have out there that you'd like to see implemented into Diablo 4. But always remember that everybody's got a different opinion. It doesn't make your opinion wrong because somebody else has a differing one, but vice versa. Be nice to each other, ladies and gentlemen. All right, once again, thank you so very much for all the support, and you all have a fantastic day. Peace.